And so the two things complement each other. It's like the warm and the cold mixing in some funny way to make something that's entirely new. He's very talented, and he's also bright, you know, and it doesn't hurt a director to be bright. They aren't all.
Help me.
Techniques of philosophical thought revolve around the impossible duality that men seem to live with, which is mind and body. Whether the mind aspect is expressed as soul or spirit or whatever, but it's still, it's the old Cartesian absolute split between the two. There seems to be a point at which they should fuse, and it should be very apparent to everyone, and it's not. It really isn't. And I think that is one of the bases of horror in general, and difficulty in life in particular, that we cannot comprehend how we can die, to be very specific. How can we, why should we die? Why should a healthy mind die just because a body is not healthy? How do you have a man dying a complete physical wreck and his mind is absolutely sharp and clear? There seems to be something wrong with that.
You're changing, Seth. Sick men who can do that?
I don't think just by force of will or philosophy that we can reach a stage where we are completely integrated. I think that that is something that has to happen physically as well. That would make sense. The mind and the body are totally interlinked as far as I'm concerned. And therefore, for the mind to change and more have to change as well. To look at the process of aging, for example, and dying, as a transformation, which is something that I deal with in The Fly, specifically. Despite the difficulty, it's necessary to be tough, though. You know, you look at it, it's ugly, it's nasty, it's not pretty. It's very hard to alter our aesthetic sense to accommodate aging, never mind disease. There is an impulse to try to do that, to accommodate aging into our aesthetic, for example. And I think that to extend that a little bit, you would do the same for disease, you know. That's a fine-looking, cancer-ridden young man. It's hard, it's very difficult, and you may say, well, why bother? Well, it's because the man still exists. He has to look at himself.
It seems to me that they have something to do with, and I got this phrase from another review, externalizing rage, where the rage is so strong that it comes out on the body in these different forms that are like horrors of a hospital, horrors of the modern medicine, in a sense, where the body is just erupting with rage and finding its outlet in new medications, in a sense, which are perverse and distorting. And it's just a reflection of it here.
Are you ready for me, Frank? Are you really? I'm in the middle of a strange adventure.
Let me be with you. I want to go with you wherever you go.
Do you? Do you?
Yes.
Then look!
The first question is always, are these cannibals? No, they are not cannibals. Cannibalism, in the true sense of the word, implies an interspecies activity. These creatures cannot be considered human. They prey on humans. They do not prey on each other. That's the difference. They attack and they feed only on warm human flesh. Intelligence? Seemingly little or no.
The central structure of the horror film has, at least until recently, been the struggle between forces of abnormality and the monster, with the monster representing everything that so-called normality represses. Our own idea of normality, the kind of normality operating in our culture being extremely repressive. By which reading, of course, the monster traditionally becomes the real hero of the horror film, the center of sympathy. Although, at the same time, this can never quite be openly acknowledged. The monster also has to be designated evil. This is a kind of basic given of the genre. So that you have this continual ambivalence in the horror film about the monster, which is sort of terrifying, horrific, and so on, but at the same time, what the film is really about, and what the audience is expected to be fascinated by.
It's been the most trustworthy genre, but in a sense, it's always been there. The first motion picture ever made was a horror picture. It was Edison's Frankenstein, where a guy put something like baking powder all over his face and played the creature. But it's successful for the reason the genre has always been successful. People are scared, and I think people are more frightened today than they ever have been because there's this constant flood of information. So we have more and more things that we know about, hence more and more things to be frightened about, everything from Muammar Gaddafi to AIDS. Some people would say there's a similarity between the two. And you can't go around and spend your whole life saying, I'm afraid somebody's going to blow a hole in an airplane. So maybe you find someplace else to put your fear. It's just like a nightmare that you have when you're awake, and then it goes away.
Daddy?
Oh, Candy. What's the matter, sweetheart? Why aren't you sleeping?
I had a bad dream, a scary bad dream.
What was the dream about, honey?
I'm afraid to tell you.
Why?
The dream doesn't want me to.
It can't hurt you now. It's all right now, baby. It's all right.
A virus is only doing its job, you know. It's only trying to live its life. The fact that it's destroying you by doing it is really not, it's not its fault, you know. So I think it's trying to understand the interrelationship amongst organisms, even those that we perceive as disease, and to understand it from the disease's point of view. Of course, it's just a matter of life. It has nothing to do with disease at all. I think most diseases would be very shocked to be considered diseases at all, you know, that it's a very negative connotation. For them, it's very positive when they take over your body and destroy you. It's a triumph.
You got man, right? And you got parasites that live in, on, and around man, right? So, why not breed a parasite that can do something useful? Huh? Or a parasite that can take over the function of a human organ. For example, you breed a parasite that you implant in the human body cavity, and it hooks into the circulatory system, and it filters the blood just like a kidney does. And so it takes a little blood for itself once in a while. What do you care? I mean, you got enough, you can afford to be generous. Huh? Are you following me?
Oh, no, I am.
Look, listen, look. You got a guy with a bad kidney, right? Now, you put the bug in him. The bug goes to work on the kidney, dissolves it, then the body assimilates it. Now, what do you got? You got a perfectly good parasite where you used to have a rotten kidney. All right? I know what you're going to say. You're going to say it's crazy.
I think it's crazy.
It's crazy. But who cares?